Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Yes, let me just start my today's session. And that's all I'm going to be discussing today. Before we deep dive into that conversation, let me just quickly walk you through with our NetSuite course content. Here we would be covering a quick overview of NetSuite. You know how cloud computing works. NetSuite is a SaaS application. We'll be just quickly highly discussing, what is the difference between NetSuite and other typical conventional ERPs and why NetSuite. And then, we'll review the scope of this course. We'll just quickly deep dive into, NetSuite application on a very high level. I'm sure you've already seen the screens, but again, that's part of the demonstration sessions. And this is a straightforward demo day 1. Day 2, we will be doing setups and configuration. As you mentioned, you are forcing yourself as a functional consultant of NetSuite, where you would be implementing NetSuite. In that case, it is very, very important that you know what our company information features were. Enable features were accounting preferences. What are certain setups that you need to do before the NetSuite account is ready for transactions? Day 2 is all about setups and configurations in NetSuite. These are the areas that we will be going through. We'll see how a subsidiary is created, how location classes, departments, what is the concept of classification in NetSuite, how are auto-generated numbers set up, how you rename your records in NetSuite. These are all typical setups of NetSuite that you should be aware of as a functional consultant. And this is what we are going to cover in our day 2. Moving forward to day 3. In day 3 is all about accounting and financials. In day 3, we will be looking into how to create a chart of account in NetSuite, how to process journal entries, how to do memorization of journal entries. We'll see what are the standard financial reports that NetSuite offers, what are some banking transactions that NetSuite offers, how does a bank reconciliation process looks like, and the use of budget feature in NetSuite. Again, you don't really need to be very technical or very accounting specific into this. It's just that since you are targeting yourself as a functional consultant, then you should be aware of all these financial transactions that NetSuite offers out of the box. And moving forward to day 4. Now day 4 is kind of very interesting. In day 4, we are going to cover the items and inventory. Here we will see what are different types of items that NetSuite offers. We'll be covering the inventory items, non-inventory items, service items. We'll see how to do inventory adjustments in NetSuite, how to transfer inventory from one location to another location. And we'll also see what are the different inventory reportings. Now this is in consideration to again your aspiration of being a functional consultant. When you go for an implementation, you might come across an organization that maintains inventory, right? We'll see how you can implement inventory in that organization. And for that it is very important to know what are the item types NetSuite offers and what are the inventory features that NetSuite offers. Day 4 is all about items and inventory. Day 5. Day 5 is going to be about the whole P2P process or the procurement process. We'll start with creation of a customer, a vendor record. We'll see how to create a purchase order, how to receive goods in your inventory, how to process vendor bills, payments, credits, and all the standard vendor reports. Everything related to the P2P process will be covered in our Day 5. Again, NetSuite has a pre-built workflow, or I would say, business process of P2P within itself. And this is what we are going to cover in our Day 5. Day 6 is all about order to cash process. And it's not just. We are focusing on the accounts receivable. We'll be focusing on the complete business process area. As a functional consultant, you don't really need to know just the transactions that are done in NetSuite. You should be aware of the complete business process that happens in an organization. Right? You first get a customer, then you get an order. We'll see how to enter an order in NetSuite. Then, how you fulfill that order, because definitely once you receive an order, you will be fulfilling that in NetSuite. We'll see how an order is fulfilled in pick pack ship status. And then comes your accounts receivable. Once you generate an invoice, that's why your ER comes into place. Then we'll see how to process payments and then customer credits, returns, cash sales, and customer reports. We'll be discussing on a very high level the business process. First, just to give you an idea how things happen in real time. And then we'll see how things will happen in NetSuite. That's going to be the whole idea at this point in time. Because the fact that your career aspiration is being a functional consultant. My focus would also be in, discussing the business process with you first, rather than just focusing on the NetSuite screens. Alright. Then day 7 and day 8 is all about the CRM process. NetSuite also offers a CRM module where you can create your leads. You can create your estimates and codes and then convert them into orders and some CRM reports. Just to give you an idea of what a CRM process looks like and how it works in NetSuite, we'll be covering that as well. And day 8 is about support management. This is more like, post-sale support that you give to your clients where you can raise tickets and cases within NetSuite. You can work on those cases. You can escalate those cases and just make sure that all the cases related to the customers are closed. And finally, all the case reports that NetSuite offers. Again, this is also a very important, business process or business module that you might, as a functional consultant, may come across while you are doing your implementation. And it is very important that you have a very high level idea of how these, CRM process works within NetSuite. Day 9. Day 9 is all about dashboard and analytics. NetSuite, apart from all the standard reports, also offers different tools to analyze your data, and one of them is called Safe Searches. As a part of the Day 9, we are going to review the Safe Search feature of NetSuite. We'll be creating some basic safe searches based on certain criteria. Just to give you an idea how you can create your own safe search when you're required. And then finally, we'll be setting and publishing dashboards. NetSuite offers a built-in BI tool. You have your own dashboard. You can customize it. You can personalize it and you can set it and publish it for others. This is all about, the BI and analytics side of NetSuite that we will cover in our Day 9. And finally, on the Day 10 is all about the administration side of NetSuite. Here we will see what are the different audit trails and logs that NetSuite, keeps in its records. What are the log in audit trails? What are the billing information? What are administrative notifications and all that stuff related to the administration side of NetSuite. And finally, we'll be having a formal training closure where we would be discussing any questions and if there are any queries related to the training or if there is anything left. And finally, day 10 is going to be our last day of session. Now, when you visualize this, you will realize that this whole training content of 10 up to day 10 is designed in a way that can help you first to work with the NetSuite as a user, as an operational user. You get a flavor of AP, you get a flavor of AR, you get a flavor of CRM, you get a flavor of inventory management and accounting. You can work as a financial user as well. And then we are also looking into the business processes. We are also looking into the setups and configurations. And we are also looking into the dashboard and analytics side of NetSuite here, which is more, relevant as a functional consultant. You can, choose your part as a functional consultant after this training course as well. And last but not the least, if you see yourself as an administrator of an organization where you are a NetSuite administrator for a company that has already implemented NetSuite, you can also do that because we are also covering the administration part. We are covering the dashboard analytics, safe search part, and again, all the business processes that as an administrator you should be aware of. NetSuite dashboard. I'm sure you're pretty aware of this screen. Once you log in with NetSuite, you give your email, you give your password, and then you are presented with your home dashboard. Just a quick few things here. This whole dashboard is totally personalizable. You can just remove any portlets. These are small pages here on your screen that are called portlets. And this is all customizable. If I don't like any particular thing on my screen, I can simply, click on these three dots and I can simply remove it. Alright. I can click on personalize. I can add more stuff on my dashboard. Let's say I want to have my calendar on my dashboard. I can just select calendar, drag and drop here, and you will see that, I have my calendar on my dashboard. This is just a few things that I would just like to show that we typically show in our demonstration sessions. But again, we have a full-fledged separate session on the dashboard that we will look into more detail. From here, you also have this global search bar. I'm sure you have been using this a lot. This typically works like a Google within your NetSuite account. If you need to search anything within your account, you simply type it over here. Let's say, I want to find anything by the name of test. You just simply type that in anything with the name of test. You will be able to see that over here. This works as a global search bar within your NetSuite account. And this is, these are called tabs over here. This is my classic administrator tab. Everything is grouped under a tab. Within NetSuite, if you need to find your transactions, all the transactions are grouped under the transactions tab. Banking transactions, purchase transactions, everything is grouped under the transactions tab. If there is any master record that you want to create or entity record you want to create, like really your customers, vendors, employees, items, chart of accounts. It's all grouped under the list tab over here. NetSuite has created a very user-friendly, I would say Everything is grouped under one tab and you simply just go on that tab and find it from there. Now, this is, when you compare it with other ERPs, like, based off my experience, when I talk about Oracle Business Suite, that's a Java-based application and it's really cumbersome to find a transaction there or find any, navigation path. It's not a very user-friendly tool, but NetSuite, is definitely very user-friendly. And you have your reports tab, you have your setup tabs. Everything is, grouped under a tab within NetSuite. And NetSuite is a role-based application. Whatever role you are assigned, you can only access those forms. You can only access those transactions and reports as well. Let's say if you are working as an accountant, your role would only have the permissions of doing financial transactions and financial reporting. Whereas if your role in your organization is a supply chain manager, you would only have access to all the warehouse related transactions in NetSuite. You won't have access to your journal entries and financial reports and all that financial stuff. Here you can see that I have my role selected over here as custom admin. Typically, the administrator role is a role that would have all the permissions, all the rights to the reports, and every setup within the organization. Based off whatever row you are assigned on your NetSuite account, you will be able to access only those permissions and reports and setups. This is again a very important, basic concept that you need to build, that NetSuite is a role-based application. And you need to have the right role to access the right things within NetSuite. Let's just quickly go back to what we have covered. We have covered, the review of scope. We reviewed the scope of the scores. We just jumped into NetSuite, saw a few navigations, dashboard, global search and NetSuite roles. Now let's just talk about a little bit, on what is NetSuite and how it is different from other applications, because I definitely would like to talk about that just to give you a little bit perspective of why NetSuite is in much demand. NetSuite is basically a cloud-based ERP system. And with cloud-based, it means that it does not require any physical server or any IT infrastructure to run this application within your organization. You just need to have a subscription of NetSuite. You just buy your subscription. You just type your email, you just type your address, password, and you're able to access this application. It's as easy as that. All you need to have is an internet connection, and it's just like, Facebook or Instagram access that you're doing. That makes life really easy for a lot of organizations who are not interested in maintaining IT overheads. Consider yourself as a medium-sized organization. You just started your business. You're growing. Now, for such organizations, it is not possible to invest a lot in large IT servers. Large PCs maintain some database administrators and all that stuff. And that's one of the reasons, NetSuite came as a cloud-based ERP system, as a SaaS application. And that's why more and more organizations are now going towards ERP implementation, because they can now afford this. They don't need to buy servers. They don't need to buy the hardware. They don't need to buy infrastructures. And they simply need to buy the subscription, and they get their application up and running. And the next thing that I would also like to share is that since NetSuite is a cloud-based ERP system, you only need internet access to, log in with your application. Whereas a conventional ERP system would require you to go to office. You need to be on the net, your internal network and all that stuff. You're not bound to all that stuff anymore, especially with the COVID situation. Now more and more organizations are going towards this work from home and hybrid models. It's very important to switch to an application that works on internet rather than on your internal networks. And this is where this application plays a great role. And NetSuite being an end-to-end ERP system, you have already seen the modules that we are covering. NetSuite covers literally everything. And since you have already worked on QuickBooks, I'm sure you are able to compare both the applications. NetSuite offers tons and tons of more modules and more features and functionalities, which is why a lot of organizations who are working on QuickBooks are now moving to NetSuite. This is also one of the reasons. NetSuite is an end-to-end ERP system. It covers all your accounting aspects. It covers all your inventory management, supply chain management, your planning, your our payroll, fixed assets, CRM and whatnot. And this is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of organizations are now going towards NetSuite. And this is actually the reason behind the NetSuite growth. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.